one.
Welcome to a special playoff episode of the Fantasy Football / Happy Hour Sports Betting Show. I am your host, Ricky Valera. On today's episode, we're going to talk all things in the National Football League. And the playoffs are here, which is very exciting because, it's just a playoff atmosphere. The only downside of the playoffs is that we know that the NFL season is literally like 5 weeks away from being over.
Yeah.
It's not fun at all. At some point in time, we will be joined by Matthew Fox in this scenario. He's, somebody hacked Comcast. I don't know what's going on, or maybe somebody hit a poll. I don't know what's going on. He's just got rough service right now. But that said, I am joined by my partner here, Mr. Clarkson. How are you?
Oh, doing all right tonight. Coming to you live from my wife's office because we are currently acid staining our concrete in the basement. And all of the shit in there is currently in the garage. So,
and let me tell you, whenever he listen, don't let that, that spunk in his voice. He's very excited about it. He's had a blast doing it all by himself. You know what I mean? Like,
no, dude, I was sick as a dog on Saturday, and my wife, Grace, she did the brunt of the work. Thank goodness for her, because I would have, if she wasn't around, that would have never gotten even started.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll hear about it in a week or two, though. Do you remember how you faked being sick so that I had to do all that? You know what I mean? That's
totally.
That sounds like something my wife would say. So, all right. That being said, we have a big slate of games this weekend, and we're going to change things up just a little bit here on the show, different from what we normally do. We're going to kick it off game by game by game. The first game on the slate on Saturday is the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. 49ers are 9.5-point favorites. The over-under sitting at 42.5. Just give me some brief initial thoughts on this game, Chris.
I hate this line. 9.5 is a huge line. I understand the 49ers have been playing just unbelievable football lately, but we're in wild card weekend, man. Literally anything can happen. I'm staying as far away from the line as possible. Brock Purdy looks like I don't even know, the second coming of Joe Montana. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my brother was in town the week before Christmas, stayed with us for a few days. We went and watched that Thursday night football game. I can't remember who they were playing, but it was 49ers against somebody. And he told me that if Brock Purdy played at a school like Ohio State, he would have been a top 10 pick. And I called him nuts, first of all. And ever since that has happened, Brock Purdy has looked like somebody who could have been picked in the top 10 picks instead of Mr. Irrelevant.
It's pretty crazy. I remember back when this was the Debbie Delight, was back when Brock Purdy was coming out of school, and I was kind of high on Purdy, but then of course he had a couple of down seasons, and obviously down seasons because he was literally the last pick of the NFL draft. But I don't know if it's something to say about that he's just playing smart football. What Shanahan does with that offense is pretty wild. It'll be interesting to see if this team goes all the way to the Super Bowl, because then you have Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, and Trey Lance all on like the same roster. And then, of course, that Trey Lance trade looks absolutely bonkers. It still does now because of what Purdy has done. But that said, I agree with you. It's crazy that we have 3 games that have 8.5-point favorites or higher. You know what I mean? 3 of these 6 games. We have heavy betting favorites. And then, of course, the other 3 are 3 points and lower. But do you have any bets for this game?
The only thing that I've got currently, now I'm sure I may do something when I start perusing the props. But the only thing I've got is over 42.5 points. I think the Niners are going to score a lot. The Seahawks are going to have to do a lot to keep up. That's the only thing that I'm really comfortable betting at the moment. Like I said, I'm going to stay far away from that 9.5 point line. But over 42.5 is all that I've got currently.
Yeah, so there's a bet that I really like in this game. It's Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdown passes. It's something that immediately jumped out at to me. Like you said, there's these games the spread I'm staying far away from just because it's a divisional at the end of the day, it's still a divisional matchup, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Still a divisional matchup between these 2 teams, and they play competitively against each other each and every year. I mean, we're looking at, week I don't know what week it was, that Thursday night game you're actually talking about. It was 21-13 in that game, and in the first game of the season, it was 27-7. They did kind of beat the brakes off them, but it was more mistakes on the Seahawks' part than it was that offense. And of course, the 49ers are a completely different team right now, obviously, with picking up Christian McCaffrey since that first game. But Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdowns is only at -105 right now. I don't know why it's so low because you're talking about a guy that has hit this number in literally every game he has started. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 straight games of 2+ touchdowns. Last week, he threw 3 against Arizona. The guy's come out on fire, and I think that he's going to do the same again this week. I think this team's got a point to prove. I really do. I'll talk a little bit more in depth about this team because I like them quite a bit. But yeah, so our 2 plays in this, we've got the over at 42.5, and then of course Brock Purdy over 1.5 touchdowns.
Before we move on, I just want to make a comment of Vince Vaughn. He's back. .gif for your quarterback props.
I am back, baby. I had to, man. I had to. You know what I mean? I had to. It's crazy. I mean, when I tell you, when I sat down and picked my picks, man, I was like, man, I wanted to see this is probably the tamest, like the most simplest pick that I've got that I'm going to have for the rest of the show here. But I've got some crazy ones. But speaking of crazy, the game that I am looking forward to the most because it's 2 quarterbacks that I really, really love, and I really loved coming out of college. And that's Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert going head to head. Thank God the Titans lost. They lost 7 straight games and lost the division. Oh, man. I just think back, though, between you at the beginning of the season saying something about the Jags winning the division and then me saying mid-season when it was like down to the last 4 games, if we would have just put an ounce of money on this, we would have a little bit more in our bank account. But right now,
if I remember correctly, it was like the 3rd week of September when I said the Jags were going to win that division.
Yeah, and they were like 1 and yeah, it was tough. You know what I mean? As of right now, the Jags, the Chargers are favorite on the road, -2. The over/under set at 47.5. When I take a look at this game, there's a lot of things that kind of pop out to me. That 47.5 kind of feels a little high, even though you have 2 teams that can score points. But it's also 2 teams that I don't really feel comfortable in Brendan Staley as a head coach, especially after the absolutely bonkers decision of playing his starters for as long as he did last week, which ended up getting Mike Williams hurt. I think Mike Williams plays a pivotal factor. If he plays, this team's obviously going to be in the contention here. But if he doesn't, they're a little less scary on the offensive side of football. But this is play 1 that I get a little crazy here. I don't normally divulge into this world, but I wanted to be just like my guy Clarkson here. He started this trend, but I'm going to go with Cameron Dicker over 1.5 field goals made. It's crazy. So when I was looking at some props for these games, and I really couldn't find anything I loved because this matchup is pretty solid on paper. But when you look at it, Dicker has made 2 field goals in his last 3 road games, and 5 of his last 6 games. It's scary to take this bet for one reason, because we all know that Brandon Staley loves to go for it on 4th down. However, logical thinking here it is, you got to take the points sometimes. You know what I mean? And that's crazy because obviously if you look at this, Cameron Dicker over 1.5 field goals is plus 105. We're getting plus money on this. So it's kind of crazy that we're getting plus money on Dicker, getting over the 2 field goals. But I like it, man. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going a little crazy, but I like it. So what is your play here?
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of your statement about Williams being limited. I think for the Chargers to win this game and frankly cover 2 point spread, Austin Eckler is gonna have to go off. I think the Jags can keep up with the Chargers offensively. And the Jags defense leaves a lot to be desired. I know my main dude, my guy, the real Josh Allen, stood up this past weekend and scored that game-winning touchdown against the Titans. But Austin Eckler is going to have a huge game if the Chargers are going to pull this off. So give me Eckler over 92.5 rushing and receiving yards. He's hit this. I was just looking. He hasn't hit this very often in the past couple of matchups. Obviously, he had a huge game last week, and made the comments about being there. Or sorry, not last week, but the week before against the Rams in your fantasy championship games. But Eckler gets a lot of touches, and like I said, the Jags are not very good defensively. I'm actually now just looking at his stats. This scares the shit out of me. Because in week 3 they played the Jags at home and he had 13 total. No, sorry, he had 48 receiving yards and 5 rushing yards on 4 carries. So that kind of scares me a little bit. But we're gonna run with it anyway. Austin Eckler over 92.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Yeah, the thing about it is this could also be very vital if Mike Williams is out as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That number might grow a little bit. This is probably on paper my favorite matchup of the whole weekend. I mean,
I would agree with that 100%.
I'm glad they put it where they did. They gave it a primetime slot too, because you're looking, in my opinion, you're looking at 2 quarterbacks that are the future of the league. Post Rodgers, post Brady, if Brady ever decides to fucking retire. But they're anchoring that new generation of, we got 5 or 7 quarterbacks that are anchoring this next phase of this generation.
And I feel like they're all in the AFC.
Well, they really are. I mean, they are. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not wrong. I mean, if you look at it on paper, you know what I mean? You have Burrow, you have Herbert, you have Lawrence. Mahomes, Josh Allen, you know what I mean? You've got 5 guys right there. If you throw
Lamar
in Mac
Jackson.
Jones, if you throw in Mac Jones, of course Lamar Jackson. Now, depending if Lamar's going to be there in the AFC still next year, but you're talking like it's very top heavy on the AFC when it comes to quarterback. And I even throw Mac Jones in there because Mac Jones is not that bad. I like him and I think he's a good starter. I just feel like that offense is Patriot as best. I mean, they had the chance. It was them. They won their end and they couldn't do it. But
Cliff Kingsbury in New England, maybe.
New OC. I don't know. He might. He's not. It's crazy. He's not a bad coach. I think he just is in over his head. You know what I mean? Like he's just way in over his head. But
he pushed all of his chips. Yeah, he pushed all of his chips in on Kyler Murray, and that turned out to be a mistake.
Yeah. So, all right. Speaking of that AFC West, we're going to shift over to probably my least confident game. Like, I could care less about this game only because of the matchup is the way it is, with Tua leaning not playing. But you have the Miami Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills. On paper, if Tua was playing, this game obviously is much closer. The spread, since Tua has been linked to be potentially out, has shifted from, I think it opened about 8, 9.5. It's ballooned all the way up to 13 now. That's a heavy number. You're talking about
he's 100%. He's 100% out. Like, he's not playing this weekend.
So you're talking 2 touchdown favorite right now. Obviously, if you look at the game, there's no props on the board right now. The over/under is sitting at 43.5. The props for the Dolphins side of things, obviously on the Bill side of things, they're out there just because of the Bills are obviously looking locked and loaded for the playoffs. But I'll let you take the floor on this one. What do you think about the?
Man, I'm not comfortable really with anything involved in this game. I think the Bills do blow them out of the water, but 13 points is such a big spread, dude. I mean, they could be up 10 points going into the fourth quarter and then just kind of just slow the game down and be like, look, we're not. I mean, they could all go into the halftime up 21 points and end up just skating the rest of the way, and the guys hit a couple field goals and maybe luck into a touchdown or something, and you're looking at a spread that you're not covering. And we for how bad he is as a quarterback, Skylar Thompson can fucking sling it. I will give him that. He is not scared to throw the ball around.
He really isn't.
But so I'm leaning prop side for the Bills, and the one that I kind of identified, it's a little bit juiced at -155 right now, but I think it's a pretty easy hit. Is going to be Josh Allen over 1.5 touchdowns. I'm honestly surprised that this is even being offered right now. I figured when I opened it up and saw that, I was like, why is this not at 2.5? But like I said, it's a little bit juiced at -155. I mean, shit, we bet games heavier favorites during baseball season, so I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy because I feel like, if you look at, and not to get too far ahead, but Joe Burrow is at -210 for over 1.5. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
why is he not in that ball? Like this should be like 180, 190. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like if not, like you said, over 2.5. For the exact reason that Clarkson mentioned, the reason I'm going to go. My thought process is I'm staying as far away from possible as just betting the 13 points. I've got a little something on this game. What would a week be without me teasing? Actually, I don't. I'm lying to you guys now. I don't have anything teased on this game. I just looked at my teaser. I don't have it included in that. But there wouldn't be a week if I didn't have a teaser. But that said, though, I'm in on the under for a lot of why Clarkson said. He brought up a lot of good points of I think this team gets ahead early. You're talking about 2 touchdowns, maybe even 3 at the half. Skylar Thompson I don't care if he can sling it. He'll be slinging it from behind. But I'm looking at, it's at 43.5. I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to go 45, just to be a little safe than sorry. But this has all the potential of being a 28-7, 28-10 game. You're looking at hitting this. I think you're going to hit this under with ease. I don't really feel like the Dolphins are going to be able to put up many points with him at quarterback. So I'm looking at the under at 45.5, and you're getting that at -140. So I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
All right. So moving right along to another, in my opinion, not so eventful game. Still a little heartbroken that we're watching the New York Giants in the playoffs. But for some reason, everybody thinks it's time to pay Daniel Jones now. And I'm like very confused by this. But that said, you have the New York Giants traveling to Minnesota to take on the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are getting obviously we've seen kind of down the stretch this team has not been that great, but they still finished the season 13-4. I mean, you can disrespect them all you want, but they still finished 13-4, and they're only home favorites by 3. You get 3 for being the home team. You're only getting 3 points here. It's so disrespectful to this team, but you got an over under at 48, which is something that I thought about betting because I think it's kind of sexy. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. These two teams faced each other just 3 weeks ago. And the Vikings won 27-24. And I believe, I'm taking a look here, it was a field goal by Greg Joseph as time expired that gave them the victory there. There was a lot of yards in that game. You had over 600 yards passing between Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins there. And surprisingly, Daniel Jones had 300 himself. So that's weird. That's a weird thing to look at himself. But that said, when I take a look at this game, my guy has a bet here that I looked at. So I like where he's going with that. But I'm going to go with mine. I'm going to go inside a prop bet here. I'm going to take a guy that I think that's came on strong over the last couple of weeks, and that's Richie James over 47.5 receiving yards. In the first matchup with the Vikings, James went for 90 yards on 8 catches. He's hit this in 3 or 4 games. He has 32 targets in his last 4 games. I expect this game to be a shootout. I really do. I think this game's going to have a lot of shootout. And I feel like this is very heavily looking at people are going to bet the Giants heavy. And I understand that, but to me, I could see the Vikings winning this game by 7 to 10 points with ease, just because I feel like they're the better team on offense. I think if they can get Hawkinson involved early like they did in that game. I mean, my guy went for 13, he had 13 catches for 109 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first matchup between these two. So if they get him involved and they can get the ball running, I feel like we're going to be seeing the Giants play from behind, which obviously favors Richie James' script of getting over that 47.5 yards. So
Yeah.
what do you like on this game there, Clarkson?
Just to go off what you said, I think the Vikings do probably take this by touchdown, something like that. So this was Ricky sent me screenshots of the lines, and I just fired this one right back at him. It was a complete gut play, and it's Vikings -3.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said, you get 3 points for being the home team. This is incredibly disrespectful to the Vikings. And just to comment on something that you said, if Daniel Jones actually does get paid, I think it'll be hilarious. Don't get me wrong. He's probably, a top 20 starter in the NFL for sure. But you don't pay a guy for being a top 20 quarterback in the NFL. I think the Daniel Jones experiment, he's still turnover prone. I think that's going to come back and bite him in the ass in this game. So I know the Vikings won a lot of close games this year. Obviously, the game against the Giants being one of them. So this could end up being close, but I just don't see that happening. So give me the Vikings -3.
Yeah, so I just want to point this out, that the Giants down the stretch were 3-6-1. Okay. So they started the season. So 3-6-1 down the stretch is what their record was. That at one time this team was 6-1. Okay. And I was losing my shit because of it. Okay. I'll recall that. But we're talking about 1-score wins. Okay. Those 6 games, every single game for the Vikings was a 1-score win. Okay. So if you know anything about football, that's a flip flop. That means any given time, that game could have flip flop. It's just like the Titans early on. They won a lot of 1-score games and then turn around and bite them in the ass down the stretch. But let me point out the 3 wins that the Giants had down the stretch: the Texans, the Commanders, the Colts. Okay. All right. So please continue to disrespect this Vikings team. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going all the way or anything, but this first round, 3 points is just flat out disrespect to Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry. I understand it's not even prime time. He got middle of the day Sunday, so it's not a prime time game. You know what I mean? It's not a prime time game.
We're getting full blown. You like that Kirk Cousins on Sunday?
Exactly. You know what I mean? So I like it. All right. So moving into the 5th of the 6 games of the weekend, another one that I don't even know if I'm going to watch the full game, because if Lamar Jackson 100% doesn't play, which, look, I'm going to say this, I am with Lamar Jackson. My man is being smart. He's being smart with his body, and he wants to get paid. And he knows if he goes on that football field and gets any more hurt, there goes his paycheck. So good on Lamar Jackson. That said, you have the Bengals 8.5-point favorites over the Ravens. Over under is at 40.5. I sent the screenshot to Clarkson. This line on Monday was Bengals -6.5, and we jumped on it. Like, we literally both bet it Monday.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we would have thrown something on Twitter about it, because we were all over that line the moment it happened, because I knew that there's still a strong chance that we're still not going to see Lamar play. And even if he does play, like, what does that look like for the team? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't played in 6 or 7 weeks or something like that. But yeah, Clarkson, what's some thoughts on this game and where you at betting wise?
Yeah, I mean, even before Lamar Jackson was, not practicing this week, I've, been, I hopped on the Bengals -6.5 when it opened. Obviously, the line's at 8.5 now. So if you do try and flex it down to 6.5, you're going to get, that juiced line, obviously.
I mean, it's still -158. That's not that bad. At
that's
6.5.
not bad.
No.
And don't get me wrong. Joe Burrow is one of the cockiest motherfuckers alive, and I love it.
I love
I
every
saw a
minute of
quote
it.
the I saw the quote the other day that somebody asked him what the Bengals window was, and he said it was his whole career. And I'm like,
Yes.
that is awesome. So my pick in this game is Bengals -6.5. Even if I didn't get it at that, I still would probably take them -8.5. Um, just because even if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, which is looking more and more likely by the day, Tyler Huntley is hurt too. I mean, he's got a right shoulder strain. He may not play either. So you've got your top two quarterbacks that aren't going to play in this game. Who are they starting? Brett Hundley?
I don't
How
know.
are they going to?
RG3 might come out of retirement for the weekend.
How are they going to score points? I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I understand they've got a good run game. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Bus, whatever, but the Bengals sneaky have a good run defense. I don't see the Ravens scoring more than 10 points. And obviously the Bengals offense is just electric. So give me the Bengals -6.5. If you guys want to go down to that point with us and ride with us, go for it. I would even take Bengals -8.5 at this point.
Yeah, it's funny. -6.5. We got it -110. I was looking at our book, and I was like, man, we got it at -110. Yeah, so I was looking at this game. I went back and forth so many different times because, like I talked about, you got Joe Burrow's juiced at minus 210 at over 1.5 touchdowns. You might as well put the man at 2.5 touchdowns. Why are you juicing him that high there?
Right.
I was looking at some of the running props, wasn't very fond of that. I looked at a few different receiver props that I wasn't, at first I was like, man, longest reception might be looking good for Jamar Chase. I was looking at some of these other things, but I was like, to be honest with you, I kind of honed in and settled on Jamar Chase over 76.5 yards. Chase has hit this in 6 of his last 7 games. In his 4 games against Baltimore, 30 catches, 462 yards, an average of 115 yards per game, and 2 touchdowns against this team. So he owns Baltimore through the air, and I expect him to. 76 seems like a low number. I think he's gonna tear the roof off the place early. I think that they get an early touchdown, long one, 50, 60-yard bomb to somebody. They get on board fast. I mean, I could honestly probably say I'll throw some money on the anytime touchdown of Jamar Chase as well at some point. But I'm not looking forward to watching this game. I'm not sure how much of it I will watch just because
Yeah.
Joey B will, he'll be smoking the cigar at halftime because honestly, what I think I'm looking forward to the most is what's going to happen the week after because it'll be the Bills versus Bengals. So, and we'll get the matchup that we were supposed to get 2 weeks ago. So,
Right.
that's definitely going to be an interesting to watch unfold. And then, of course, we have the final game of the weekend. We have the Cowboys taking on the Buccaneers. This was another one that my guy, funny enough, the Bucs money line on Monday was plus 125. But right now, the Cowboys are going on the road and are 2.5-point favorites against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That plus 2.5 on the Tampa Bay side is actually plus money right now. Typically, that's right in line. Let's just say, for an example, the Bengals Ravens game minus 8.5 is minus 110, and then the plus 8.5 is minus 110. The Cowboys are favored by minus 2.5. That's at minus 120. The Bucs are 2.5-point dogs and are plus 100. So there's a lot of money coming in on this Cowboys team. Now the money line went down a little bit. The over/under sitting at 45.5. And it's interesting because I feel like the Bucs kind of found their groove a little bit over the last couple weeks, while Dallas is
floundering.
They're winning games, but it's just like I don't understand their play calling. I was so mad. I was ready to lock in Dak Prescott over 1 interception. And then I messaged Clarkson and I said, what is one of the most egregious, rude things ever is that his over 1 interception prop is at minus 180. That's just straight disrespectful, man. That means Vegas is like, we know it's going to happen. So we're not going to give you any juice here. We're going to take all of the juice away from you guys. So, Clarkson, where are you at on this bet? I kind of teased it a little bit, but where are you at on this one?
My family members who are Cowboys fans for some reason aren't going to enjoy this, but give me the Bucks money line. And this is going to come into play when we talk a little bit later about another topic that we have on the slate. But don't get me wrong, the Bucks aren't a great football team. Their offensive line is not great. Their defense is pretty, meh. But Tom Brady is Tom Brady. I am betting on Tom Brady going out and winning one playoff game. Right. And
I need it. What are you talking about?
Until Dak Prescott and this Cowboys team can go out and prove that they are legit, I will not ever in my life bet on them to win or cover or do whatever in a playoff game, especially a road playoff game. Like, yeah. If this was a Jerry World, it would be a different story, probably. But give me the Bucks money line, man. Give me Tom Brady.
About 6 weeks ago, after that shellacking they put on the Colts, I think it was, I said I thought the Cowboys were probably going to be the team to beat in the NFC. I felt like they were the team that could sit down and beat whatever team that faced their way. And now I feel like they fell off the. I don't even know what happened. They do know that they have a great duo of running backs. Like Zeke Elliott might not be great anymore, but he's really good. But then the combination of him and Pollard has worked. And for some reason, they want Dak Prescott to throw the ball 60 times a game. I don't understand their thinking here of what their offense is. But I don't know. But I don't have an official play in this game. I have one, and I'll give it to you in a second. But one thing I do not like to do is I do not like to bet for or against Tom Brady in the playoffs. So that's just bad juju of my part. But that said, my final play on this slate is a 3-team 10-point parlay. All right. So basically what you just go into the DraftKings app and you take these 3 lines, you take the 3 things. And what I'm going to tell you is you go in there, you take the Charger, or you take the Bengals, right? You get the Bengals at -8.5. You select that button, right? Then we're going to go all the way down. We're going to select the Jaguar or the Chargers -2. And then we're going to go into this Cowboys and Tampa Bay game, and we're going to select the over at 45.5. Right? And then you're going to drop down in there, and we're going to go over to teasers, and we're going to drop down. We're going to put a 10-point teaser, the super teaser. We're going to get the Bengals +1.5. We're going to get the Chargers +8. And then we're going to get the over-under in this Dallas Cowboys game at 35.5. And when you do that, you get odds of -120. I love this bet a whole lot. I don't love like going 3-team on my teasers, but this one, because I feel like even if the Chargers underperform, they're not going to lose by more than a touchdown. Okay. The Bengals aren't losing that game, period. And I think 35 points is rather easy for the Cowboys and Bucks game. That guy might end up being the highest scoring game on the entire slate, honestly, when it comes. So, but yeah, that's my final play. We've got, 10 total plays? No, 12 total plays
12,
for this weekend. Yeah. So our I think our 12-game cushion that we have over 500 might look a little rough. But real quick, I just did want to share with you guys, Matthew Fox he was supposed to be here with us, some technical difficulties there, but no worries from him. 49ers, Jaguars, Bills, Giants, Bengals, Cowboys are his wins this weekend. So he only goes against us on the Jaguars and the Giants. Jaguars, Giants, and Cowboys. So I can't wait for him to be wrong, but it is. But it is what it is. Sometimes I love whenever he and I are on the opposite sides of things. But Clarkson and I obviously went on a betting show. One thing I hate seeing is when you provide a bet and the other person provides the opposite end of that bet. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? It makes zero sense to me when that happens. But all right, so I task Mr. Clarkson with one other thing. And what I'm going to do is, for those of you at home that aren't aware, I am going to share with you the Super Bowl odds per team. I'll even go all the way down to the bottom for you guys. The Seahawks are plus 7,000 right now. The Dolphins are plus 6,000. Giants plus 5,500. Jaguars plus 5,000. Let's fucking go, Jaguars. The Super Bowl, baby. Baltimore Ravens plus 35. I don't understand. Like, Lamar's not coming back. Why are they not like plus 7,000?
Yeah.
But Vikings plus 3,500. Bucks 2,800. Chargers 2,000. Cowboys plus 1,200. Bengals 850. Eagles, it's crazy. The Eagles have been the best team in football pretty much all year, and they're the fourth. They have the fourth best odds of winning the Super Bowl at plus 550. 49ers at 500. Bills at 400. And then, of course, you have the Kansas City Chiefs at plus 350. They are favorites to win the Super Bowl. All right, so I tasked Clarkson with two things. One was who he thinks is going to win the Super Bowl, and then for him to give me a long shot on who he thought was going to win the Super Bowl. Give me the Super Bowl winner first.
Excuse me. I'm not getting cute with my Super Bowl pick. It's the Chiefs, man. Patrick Mahomes is playing like a man possessed. He's playing like a $300 million quarterback. It doesn't matter who he's throwing the ball to. It's like he lost Tyreek Hill this past offseason and threw more touchdown passes this year. Like, how is that even possible? The Chiefs are obviously the odds-on favorite. This isn't a hot take or anything, but like I said, I'm not getting cute. It's going to be Chiefs Super Bowl champs. And I'll even do you one better. I'll give you my NFC champion too, and we've talked about this. It's the 49ers it's going to be Chiefs 49ers in the Super Bowl.
All right, so Clarkson just steals my complete thunder here. I'll allow it. You know what I mean? My Super Bowl winner right now is the San Francisco 49ers. I like them. I think they have the most complete team. They very much remind me of the 2001 Baltimore Ravens, Trent Dilfer era there. I think it was 2001, something around those. Don't fact check me, folks. It reminds me of that team. Purdy, obviously, light years better than Trent Dilfer ever was, but and he hasn't even done much. But you're talking about a team that doesn't turn over the football. Okay, you're talking about a team that plays great defense and they have great weapons. If you look at it, Elijah Mitchell has run the ball very good and it has been a very good compliment to Christian McCaffrey. So you don't have to feed McCaffrey 500 times a game right now. So you have his fresh legs throughout this entire playoffs. You have Deebo Samuel, who's coming back and is healthy. You have Brandon Ayuk. And, of course, you have the Purdy-Kittle connection that has been on fire the last few weeks, okay? So you're talking about a team that has gotten hot at the right time. They've won 10 straight games. Now, I'll say this. If the Eagles want to make it to the Super Bowl, the Minnesota Vikings or whoever else that they end up are going to have to beat the 49ers. And I'm sorry, I don't see that happening. So and I'll be honest with you, I'm on the fence right now if the Eagles actually win a playoff game. I know that's controversial. I think the Eagles are a year too early. They have plenty of tools and weapons, and then they have plenty of draft picks this offseason. But and I don't know what we see out of Jalen didn't look great last week. He did not look great last week. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see, which is kind of sad. You know what I mean? I wish that team was 100%, but and on the AFC side of things, I said to Clarkson I wanted an exact matchup. My exact matchup is the 49ers versus the Chiefs. I came this close to going Bills, but 49ers Chiefs.
Yeah, I typed out Bills 49ers with the Bills winning it, and I was like, I can't do that. It's Mahomes, dude. It's Chiefs 49ers and Chiefs winning it all.
I said on this podcast at the beginning of the year, I said I thought Patrick Mahomes would win the MVP this year. I thought that he had something to prove, and he has done exactly that. I actually have a bet open with him to win the MVP, so let's cross our fingers, everybody.
I don't think you have to cross your fingers.
Yeah. That said, I asked you for a long shot Super Bowl pick. What do you got? Okay.
So I'm going to preface this, and I'm going to read this tweet from NFL on CBS.
Uh-oh.
And this, my dark horse, is going to be somebody we've already talked about. Tom Brady, recent season by season results. 2013 did not win the Super Bowl. 2014 won the Super Bowl. 2015 did not win the Super Bowl. 2016 won the Super Bowl. 2017 did not win the Super Bowl. 2018 he won the Super Bowl. 2019 he did not win the Super Bowl. And what did he do in 2020? He won the Super Bowl. Last year, Tom Brady did not win the Super Bowl.
That's insane.
So 2022, if trends are trends, Tom Brady's winning the fucking Super Bowl this year.
Wouldn't that be insane? Wouldn't that be fucking insane?
Tom Brady and the Buccaneers plus 2,800 is my dark horse as your Super Bowl champion.
That's funny. My dark horse. My dark horse is not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
I was going between, on this podcast, last year we did our Super Bowl preview with Stoney Keeley.
Yeah.
And we did a way too early 2023 Super Bowl pick, and I think mine was the Chargers, plus 2,300 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting at what, plus 2,000, I think you said.
Yeah.
Which was going to be my pick. And then I saw this fucking tweet and I was like, it's got to be them.
Well, so what's crazy is what I think people fail to remember is like, it's okay. Throw 5 on it. If it loses, like, there's so many things you could do here. But you can also throw it on conference winners. You have a vast variety of options that you can throw on here. But I mean, if you feel confident that the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, you bet them to win the Super Bowl. You bet them to be the league winner for the AFC. That's plus 170 right now. That gives you money. You know what I mean? You have several different options. So I struggled here because I don't think. All right, the Seahawks, Dolphins, Jaguars, Giants, Ravens, Vikings. No chance in hell, right? Okay. I love the Bucks thing. I can't go there with you. Just because, again, personal reasons, I can't go there. I don't think my heart can take 3 more Tom Brady playoff games. All right. I already wrote 1 love letter to the man. I didn't write another one. Right? I didn't even delete my love letter. I'm just gonna repost it whenever he retire. But that said, I was looking at it, I was like, man, I don't want to go cheap because I was like, well, all the rest of these odds are not that great, but I'm actually gonna go Bengals. It's plus 850. It's a little cheap. I know it is. I wanted to go to Chargers, but their coaching is just god awful, man. Nothing would make me happier than seeing Justin Herbert at the Super Bowl. It wouldn't. Do I think if there's a team that could beat the Chiefs, it's the Chargers. Like, they play them very, very well.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in Brandon Staley to make a right decision when he needs to win a football game. But the Bengals been there. They've done it. They did it last year. They went on the road. They beat some good teams last year. And I think they could do it again. It's really weird to me because I feel like this is so top heavy. Like, it's in your head. To me, it's like either the 49ers or the Eagles, Bills or Chiefs, right? You know what I mean? But I really feel like we are sleeping on the Bengals. Because if there's a team that could beat the Chiefs, I believe it's the Bengals. If there's a team that could beat the Bills,
I mean, the Bengals have beat the Chiefs 3 times in a row.
And if we look at it, if the Bengals win this week and the Bills this week, the Bengals and Bills play next week in Buffalo. And I don't know if I would bet the Bengals. I really don't. Like, it'll be a hell of a game because of playing it in that nature and stuff like that. But for me, I don't see how you can't, you know what I mean? I don't know. I like the Bengals at plus 850. Like I said, the Chargers are one. And if the Cowboys had a better coach, I'd probably pick the Cowboys are nice at plus 1250. But it'll be interesting to see how it kind of all plays out because if it goes out just the way that you and I even said, right? You know what I mean? We both like you like the Chargers this weekend?
I had Eckler over. Yeah, I had Eckler.
Well, yeah,
over.
I'm just saying, do you like him to win?
Yeah, for sure. I think they win that game.
So then it's going to be Chargers, Chiefs next week, Bills, Bengals next week. I think personally that's the 4 best teams in the AFC anyway. So,
right.
And on the flip side of it, you have the 49ers that'll play the Vikings, and then the Bucks would play the Eagles. Holy shit, man. Oh my God. I don't know, man. At 2,800 right now. Oh shit. I don't know, man. Oh shit.
Hey, I just present things as I see them. You can either take it or leave it.
Man, that would be, I don't know. I feel bad for the Vikings. The luck of the draw they got, man. You have to, once they'll beat the Giants, but then you have the 49. You have to travel cross country to 49ers. I feel bad for them. But
Yeah.
man, this is great breaking down the playoffs. We'll be back next week for sure. We'll figure something out. We'll get back out there. It's playoff time, man. It's time to make some money.
Absolutely.
I am happy to announce on the college Gardner Webb running Bulldogs ended up pulling it out in overtime, 79-78. So for those of you at home that don't know, I am now a college basketball expert. But let's see here. All we are relying on is Wake Forest, I think, to win. Wake Forest. Are they winning?
College what?
Demon Deacons. College. Did I say basketball?
Yeah. What is college? College.
Oh,
what?
yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with the sport.
my boy Clarkson here has disowned the college basketball scenario. On to baseball, as Belichick would say. You know what I mean? On to baseball.
Yep. Pitchers and catchers report in 6 weeks.
Exactly.
Go Cubs.
Wake Forest up 44-35 right now. So it's going to be one of the, so we're looking good there for that bet. But that said, I've got a lot of money already on these playoff matchups. I didn't realize that, but let's rock and roll, baby. Let's win some money.
Absolutely.
Follow my guy, Chris Clarkson, on Twitter at Chris Clarkson91. Follow myself at Ricky Blair _. Follow my guy, Matthew Fox at Nighthawk7734 on the Twitter. Clarkson, thanks for joining me. This was fun. We'll be back next week to talk more playoffs, and then if the Bucks lose, then we'll have to find a new deep sleeper to win the Super Bowl. So we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you guys.